Welcome, the pilot episode of the Regular Folk Show, hosted by yours truly, Reuben Dreiblatt. This is my new podcast. The idea is to be sort of an imitation Joe Rogan experience, but instead of me having experts on in various fields, I'll just have normal people, and we'll see what they say, we'll see how they feel. We'll let the conversation flow, have a couple different things I'd like to touch upon, and we'll have a quotes section every episode where I ask my guest how they feel about certain quotes. But besides that, we're gonna keep it pretty open source and take some advice from the growing community, see how they feel about it, see how the responses are, see what people want. And every episode I'll have a guest or two. And this is my inaugural episode. My guest today is Jake Ditkoff, a buddy of mine from Rutgers University, also the head of Lolo Shang, an excellent rock band here in New Brunswick, New Jersey. Jake, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
Good to have you here. Good to have you here. Good to be here. We're both college students, both seniors. We were in the same dorm freshman year. How does it feel, being a senior now, looking back?
I mean, I'm just excited to finish,
Yeah. Final hurrah.
Yeah, I'm over it,
You're over it. And most people are like, "Oh, you nervous for graduation? You nervous for graduation?"
Nah.
No.
Not really.
Not really.
Are you?
No, I'm not nervous either. Honestly, I think while transitions are big periods in people's lives, change of scenery, different friends, all that sorts of thing. I think if you're the type of person who's taking every day and really making the most of it, then it's all just another day. It's all just more time. It's all about what you're doing in the next 5 minutes, just as much as it is about what you're doing in 10 years. So
yeah.
For me, no, I'm not super concerned about it. Yeah, I mean that's sort of the perspective I have. So no, I wouldn't say I'm concerned about graduation, but you definitely hear that a lot. People are like, "Oh, all the good times, it's over." It's like,
I mean, I definitely don't feel nervous about anything, but I guess there's a couple things I'll miss about being here.
Anything in particular?
Mostly just the people I'm surrounded by, or just being surrounded by people all the time. It's kind of a nice thing that might take some getting used to.
Right.
Going back home, that's where I'll be for a little bit. Not sure how long, but hopefully not too long.
Yeah. Don't want to be one of those.
No, definitely don't want to be one of those.
That's more and more these days. People going moving back home, and then they kind of just stay there.
Did you see that thing on the news? There was a guy, I don't remember if his parents were suing him, or I think he was suing his parents because they were trying to get him out of the house. It's like a 30-year-old guy.
I feel like I actually did hear about that, but not recently. Yeah,
it's not a recent thing.
It's
pretty epic.
The parents suing the son.
Yeah,
Wow.
I think he was suing them because
the son was suing the parents?
Yeah, because I think they were trying to kick him out, but he didn't have a job. But he wasn't. They were saying he wasn't looking for a job. He was saying he was, but he went on the news. It was this crazy thing.
Wow, son suing the parents.
Yeah, maybe the whole thing was just for publicity, so that.
Yeah, I mean, where's his leverage here? They're living in his home.
Yeah, that's why it was such a big story. That's how ridiculous it was, I think.
That's incredible. I don't think I realized this.
Yeah.
That's very funny. Yeah, college
hopefully
life.
he's doing okay.
Yeah, hopefully he's doing okay. Hopefully he got something out of college.
Yeah, it didn't really look like it.
Didn't look like it. Well, I wonder what he majored in. It's a big thing.
Could have been anything.
Could have been anything. People make a
if
big
you're
deal
not going to
about
look for a job, no matter what.
then it doesn't matter.
It's going to be useless.
It doesn't matter what you majored in.
Yeah.
Just gonna pull our mic a little closer to the table.
Yeah.
For you folks at home wondering what I was just doing. Yeah. What do you think about majors in college? It seems like that's always, it's always been a hot topic, but it seems like it's more and more so these days, the push to do things in STEM and maybe a little bit less of finance, but still business is pretty big. But I'd say, engineering and
computer science is very smart.
Computer science, right? That's the big one. But how do you feel about the liberal arts? Like, do you think it seems more and more these days? It seems like a lot of college students feel like they're just extraneous. They're things you can do for fun, but it's nothing professionally. Very little input on the economy, and I would argue that's factually incorrect, but it seems to be a lot of the way people look at it now.
I mean, I think on paper they're definitely less practical.
Mm-hmm.
It's less practical to major in something, in the arts or, English, for example, as opposed to STEM or computer science. But I think it just depends on what you plan to do with it. Like if you have a plan and you know what you're going to college for, then I think, you're not guaranteed a job or anything, but it's like college is a big commitment. You're here for 4 years. You're going to be studying a lot. You should kind of know what you want to get out of it, at least at the time.
True. But is there room to discover and explore what you could get out of it that you might not have known?
If that's what, yeah.
It's the idea that 18-year-olds are so certain and,
I just think a lot of people can't handle the pressure of that.
Right.
But
it's also so expensive, so the pressure's been ratcheted up.
Also, a lot of people's parents put pressure on them.
100%.
To know what they're doing.
Right. What are you doing? What's the next hoop you're jumping through? I think those pressures are very legitimate. Those pressures are problematic. I think a big thing also is this idea that everyone's supposed to be, is supposed to go to college. Like we're all meant to go to college. That's a big American narrative about higher education. And while I do think it's a wonderful opportunity, I feel very blessed to be able to go to college. I don't know. It's obviously hard to envision for yourself, but I could see an alternate world where maybe I didn't go to college, or other more people in my high school were maybe thinking about it. But that just.
I almost think if you're not gonna use whatever you study in college for what you do, and you're gonna go into business or something, you're gonna start your own business, start your own thing. Like it's almost like you better not go to college, because then that's like 4 years that you could be getting that going.
Right.
Rather than just kind of wasting your time.
True.
But it's also good to be able to work for other people, and to get that opportunity that might not happen for you unless you do go to college.
Unless you do go to college.
And at least have like an undergraduate degree in something. It's tough. It just depends on the person.
Depends on the person. Depends on your skill set. I would just argue that I think a big thing to note is that while people do have a grasp on what they're good at and what they're maybe not good at, it's all seen through certain, internal biases that we have, and we maybe block ourselves from blossoming into something that we didn't think we could be, or didn't even imagine that we would have liked, just because of either parental pressures, society pressures, or very simply just because we take the easy road, and as long as we're not, personally paying for the experience, we can float on a little bit and just be like, oh, this is nice, and I'm kind of getting something out of it.
A lot of people don't realize that until 10 years after.
Right. They're like, oh, I didn't really do anything.
And at that point, your brain doesn't even let you, learn new things as easily.
Right. No, 100%. This is still a great time. You're obviously not the sponge you wore when you were in lower school, but there's still
16. That was my prime.
That's your prime. That's the prime age. I wonder. I don't know exactly what the prime age is cognitively, but I know the brain doesn't stop developing until you're about 25. So
I've heard that peak creativity is 16 to 25, something like that.
Peak creativity. Interesting.
Yeah. For most people.
It would make sense.
I don't really know how they got to that conclusion.
Right, yeah, how is that measured creative output over
artists
time?
Make their coolest music.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the reason for the 27 Club.
Maybe.
Yeah.
The frustration.
What do you think Nirvana would sound like now? Probably still be pretty awesome. But I don't know.
They'd be poppy.
Yeah, probably.
They'd probably be a little less heavy. Spirit now. A little less heavy. Yeah, nobody's listening to that kind of heavy stuff right now. I don't feel like there's any maybe I'm just not listening to that kind of stuff. But.
Yeah, I don't think people really make stuff like that anymore.
Yeah, that super heavy grunge.
Yeah, it's over.
It's really over.
It's been over.
It's been over for a while.
It's okay.
No, it's totally okay. It's just a reflection of the times. Like I think people wore their identity a lot more on their sleeve, earlier on, maybe pre-internet, things like that. It feels like as great as the internet is, I know this is not necessarily so directly related, but sort of on the music note, as great as the internet is, it's created a homogenization of a lot of people's identities. And, you know, people don't want to be a grunge.
Just recycled now,
right?
Rather than created.
It's just eating culture, eating each other. You know, Ralph Lauren puts out like a jock, like or something like that. Like I don't know, something that's supposed to idealize that sort of thing and tap into that. It's like, dude, there's been like real jocks since like what? I don't know, the 80s, the 90s. Like, I mean, obviously people still act in certain ways but it's those labels and those like identities seem to be more like, I don't know, not whitewashed, but a little more vanilla. A little more vanilla. Just a little tidbit there. 2019 life now, though. Speaking about modernity, speaking about the old, how about the new? How about life right now? How are you feeling about 2019?
So far, so good.
So far, so good.
No catastrophes.
Notre Dame burned down a couple days ago.
Oh no, I just mean for me.
For you personally, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're doing all right.
Yeah, that was pretty wild though.
That was wild. Very sad. 800 years of world history right there.
Yeah.
It's not completely destroyed, but...
Yeah, I think they said most of the damage was on the middle section. Exterior, was it?
That would make sense. I mean, the roof caved in.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
It's a huge part of Western culture, just gone.
Yeah, Paris.
Yeah.
Epicenter is such a
and
big part of their
not
identity.
to mention the things they had inside. Just pieces of history.
Right. Some things got saved, but yes, no, tons was lost.
Yeah.
Tons was lost. You know what I saw actually online that I didn't particularly care for. Well, I saw both sides of it. One, which I don't really have as much of a problem with inherently, which was people on Facebook trying to raise money for it, like doing one of the Facebook fundraisers for the Notre Dame repairs and things like that. And then I saw another thing that said, people are asking for money for the Notre Dame Cathedral. It's like, don't give money to that. Like, instead give money to migrants on the southern border and like agencies trying to help that, and water in Flint, Michigan. It just felt very like I don't know.
I mean, the way I just see that as people telling you what to do with your money.
Yeah.
And that's not really something I would support.
Yeah.
Like, it's your money.
I know. I mean, I don't like that, of course. But what I don't like about it, and I'm not doing the best job explaining the context behind it, but what I really didn't like about it was that it propagated this idea that like repairing this ancient symbol that's so important for the French people isn't important, and instead we should just go for something where it's like more clear suffering. It's like I mean, I'm not gonna like suffering Olympics. It's not about that, but just like something.
That's what they're making it.
Right. It just feels like they're making everything like as some ranking, and we're gonna help them all in order, and you're bad if you're helping these people. They're just like,
I know there was
what is
one
that?
guy, I don't know the guy's name. It was a French billionaire.
French billionaire. Yeah.
Donated like something like, I don't know, like over $100 million
to help
like,
repair
the day it happened.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is just such an important piece of history. 2019, okay.
Another, I just wanted to say another thing.
Yeah.
You saw on Facebook is like any friends you have that have been to France, that have visited.
Posting pictures of
like while it was on fire, they're posting pictures of them like 2 years ago in front of it. Like sad that this happened, Oh, that was funny.
Yeah, it's like, all right, let's make it about me.
yeah.
I know, but on the flip side of let's make it about me, it's like, how are they supposed to? If they say anything about it, they've made it about them. Like, you could be like, I'm really sad. You're like, oh, why are you making it about yourself, man? It's like, I'm not. I'm just saying that because I'm an individual. Like, I always think that's funny. We should always try to have both perspectives. Be charitable to people, and then also, look at them cynically.
You don't want to put like some malicious intent on it.
Right.
But it's just funny to me. Like,
don't attribute to malice what could be easily explained by stupidity. I always like that quote. Speaking of quotes, we could get to that. Actually, I wanna harp on 2019 a little bit more, talking about a teacher recently said that, and this kind of goes back to a point earlier about the internet and homogenization, but that kids seem a lot less excitable these days. Right? Would you say that, or maybe not even just necessarily kids seem less excitable, but it's like kids' emotional output, and I'm maybe speaking more directly about college kids right now, seems dulled a little bit. Not completely, but it just seems like a lot of, I don't know, there's just a lot more like apathy towards feeling.
Maybe kids just aren't eating enough.
Maybe. I mean, some kids aren't. I mean, it's sort of an impossible question because it's all we've ever known, and I want to project about past generations and future generations.
I don't know. Why do you think that would be? I don't really know.
I don't know. I mean, the thing that I would point out that's sort of new to our generation is these smartphones and the access to information and the inundation with so many exterior feelings and things that make us, it just, when we're constantly experiencing it, then when we like do break away from it and we have the opportunity to flip it, where now we would output the feeling as opposed to taking it in, we have like a lot of trouble doing the output because the inputs have just been so overloaded that we're like, like the wires are frayed a little bit.
I think having the unlimited access to information.
Right.
I mean, it's just logical that would have the effect where nothing is really new anymore to anyone,
Which is, it's crazy.
The only way to really get that feeling would be to like learn a new skill.
Well, or to just do it yourself. Like, I mean, you see suffering on your Instagram page, and then you like go talk to somebody who's homeless for like 5 minutes, and you'd be like, wow, what was that feeling right there? And like, whoa.
I mean, obviously it's going to be completely different.
It's going to be incredible. Well, it's just going to be incredible. It still feels like such a different way of interfacing with our world now. Just, I don't know. Anything that's not mediated now by something, and I don't want to say strictly a smartphone, but anything that's not mediated now is like branded as authentic, when really it's just like how it always used to be. Like, it's just as, it was you and it was your experiences, the things you touched, the things you felt.
Well, I don't see us returning to that anytime soon.
Right. Yeah, it's like a state of nature thing. Everyone yearns for some past.
We kind of we're like in a weird spot because we still kind of grew up without smartphones.
Right.
Like, I mean, like, not really, but we're kind of the last sort of cohort that can at least remember not having a smartphone. Like, I didn't have a smartphone, or I didn't even have a cell phone until I was in like 6th grade.
Right.
And like I can remember before 6th grade pretty easily. But like, kids 5 years younger than us even, like, totally different. They're probably a lot different. I mean, think about what, the generation of people that are infants now.
Right.
They're going to be totally different than us.
Completely different. They're really going to be different people. It's going to be a complicated world that we inhabit as we get older. Something also that, I mean, this is more of just a practicality thing, but what amazes me is that all these young kids who now have phones, who are like in 5th grade and 6th grade, or something even younger, it's probably 4th grade, like, they're carrying around iPhones, most of them, that are literally worth like $800+. It's like, that is so expensive for someone your age to have.
Insurance.
Oh, they have insurance, and also just like that, like, I don't think I had anything that valuable until maybe I got my computer. And
maybe my guitar when I was 13.
Your guitar, right, like 13, 12, like, there, and I mean, that even so was like something that like stayed at home. Like, this is always on them. This is in their fucking pocket, excuse the French.
I mean, at least they're not drinking yet, so.
At least they're not drinking yet.
I mean, I'm just thinking all the damage that has been caused to my phone has been a result
of drinking.
Mixing that with just having my phone. I mean, I've definitely dropped it in the toilet a couple times. I mean, you just gotta hope they're being careful.
That's funny.
Yeah,
you do have to hope they're being careful. I don't know, it's just crazy. I mean, it's like, I mean, imagine if you imagine instead of the phone they had 8 Ben Franklins. They're fucking at $800. Like, you'd be like, why are you carrying around so much money?
You're gonna get robbed.
You're gonna get robbed.
Yeah.
Dangerous. You know how easy it is for someone twice your size to take that from you? Oh, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Does that push you down?
Yeah. It's true.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Especially in like a major city.
I think they're gonna be a lot different when they're our age.
It's gonna be interesting. Okay. I think it's time now. Time now for some quotes. I got 2 for you here, and I'd like you to guess where you think they're from.
Okay.
So the first one is, "Don't bring sand to the beach." Who do you think said that?
Maybe someone from Florida. Don't bring sand to the beach.
It was actually coined on Reddit, so technically, statistically, could be someone from Reddit. Might be someone from Reddit. I mean, that might be someone from Florida.
Yeah.
Might be someone from Florida.
That's where like 90% of the Reddit community is. Yeah.
Is that true? I don't know.
No.
No, that's not true. But I'm sure a chunk of people.
I think
from
70-80%.
Shut up. Don't bring sand to the beach. What do you think about that? What do you think it means? Let's talk about the quote.
Don't bring sand to the beach.
Do you want to? Okay, so well, first I want you to give me your interpretation, and then I'll tell you where I heard it.
Do you know what they meant by it?
Yeah.
Okay. And you're gonna keep that information from me.
Okay. I'm gonna tell you after you give a guess.
I guess don't bring something somewhere where there's already a lot of something at that somewhere.
Yes, that's literally. I mean, that's very, very good. So this was in relation to Bonnaroo, which is going on this summer. I was considering going. I have some friends going. I don't think I'm going to go in the end, nor will I volunteer. I considered that at one point too. But in the Reddit for it, actually I think it might have been the Facebook group for it, whatever. I was added to like the group, and there's different people like talking about logistics, things they're looking forward to, all this other stuff. And of course the topic of drugs comes up, and people who had been there, people were like, first time you're here, like, is it okay to bring drugs? Is it safe? Meanwhile, the fact that they're talking about drugs, I think is funny anyway. In like a group like this, where it's like, why would you be talking about this? Like that's not the place, buddy. I was like, talk about the music.
I don't even know anything about Bonnaroo. What kind of artists are there?
It's a pretty diverse group.
Is that the one in Chicago?
No, I think it's Pitchfork. No, Bonnaroo is in Tennessee.
Oh.
Which
one's in Chicago? Coachella? Something?
Coachella, I'm pretty sure Coachella's in LA. Dude, there's so many. But okay. Anyway, we were talking about drugs, and he was like, first time here, like, bring drugs, whatever. And it was one of the people responded, like, dude, the cops are incredibly strict as soon as you enter Tennessee. Like, they're searching cars, don't bring anything. It's, like, super stupid. And then also, like, there'll be plenty of stuff there, like, don't bring sand to the beach.
Yeah, and plenty of stuff for sale, I'm sure.
Exactly. There's always a market for something like that at a place like that. And it was just like, don't bring sand to the beach, like, recognize where there's stuff. It could be a good. Yeah, well, we won't go into that because it's illegal. So that was the first quote. Second quote, this one's by someone famous. This one's, "Years of love have been forgot in the hatred of a minute."
Years of love have been forgot in the
hatred of a minute.
In the hatred of a minute.
What do you think?
Kind of a weird quote.
A little bit of an odd quote. It's by Edgar Allan Poe, who was kind of a weird guy. I think what the quote is driving at is that you can have, let's say you're really close with, you have a brother, let's say you're very close with your brother, and you love him to death, but he does something really stupid that he easily could have not done. Let's say he, like, breaks your guitar or something when he's drunk, so you'd be so pissed that all of that love can melt away in just, like, a minute, and you can just absolutely hate him. And then, of course, the love usually would come back.
Something a lot worse.
Something a lot worse.
I think it could go the other way around, too. years of hatred could be forgotten
in the love of a moment.
in the love of a moment.
Yeah.
Especially if there's like a little bit of sexual attraction involved.
That's true. That is true.
Is
that a reference to me and you?
Yeah, I think it's something you can work
You coming
to
on
make someone not hate you.
I like the way you flipped that quote. Actually, I think it does. I think it could work that way as well.
It's definitely true though.
Yeah.
Somebody does something bad or good enough.
Things can change over time.
It's a good thing to think about. You can always turn things around.
You can always turn things around, and also it's just I think the quote.
You can always fuck things up too.
You can. You can always mess things up, and it's good to just recognize though that when that moment happens, to not forsake the fact that you've had years of a certain thing, right? So something happened the way you flipped it. We'll deal with that one first. A loving moment happens between two people who have hated each other for a long time.
Like they find someone that they both hate more. Right?
Sure. I mean, and they bond over that.
Yeah.
But I would just say be wary of the fact that, your former enemy is now your friend.
So keep them closer.
Keep them. Be careful because you don't know if they've really changed or if they're being manipulative, trying to use you. Right? It's like, oh, suddenly they're being nice, or suddenly we're bonding over something. Like, why? What's up? And I'm not saying always assume an ulterior motive because that's a terrible way to live. Also,
yeah.
But just recognize what was the instantiated past. So I mean, for the original part of the original quote, the years of love have been forgotten, the hatred of a woman. Don't forget that love. Don't forget the years of love of loving your brother, just in the fact that he did this awful thing in a minute. That short moment.
Yeah.
Hold on to the past in a certain
Definitely
sense.
a healthier approach.
Healthy approach, right. Recognize it, because otherwise that love can really be forgot. It can really be lost. Someone really does something terrible to you. We can close ourselves off, and we see that a lot now too.
The
right?
hatred of a minute.
The hatred of a minute. We see that so much now, though.
The way that it's like phrased, it just sounds like the hatred of a minute. You know what I mean?
It sounds like what? It is
like the hatred of someone just hates minutes.
Yeah, the hatred of those damn 60 seconds.
He doesn't say like the hatred in a minute.
It might have been in the hatred of a moment, but I think it is minute. But
some people hate moments.
Some people hate moments. I guess you can work whatever you want.
Yeah.
But no,
I think minutes are unnecessary. It should just it should just be 5 minutes.
Seconds and hours?
15 minutes, 20 minutes, half hour. 45, forgot about that one.
I'll keep that in mind when we redo the Mayan calendar.
Yeah, please do. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, well, no, okay. So I was going to say that I think we see this a lot now of the love being forgotten, the hatred of a minute, and then us not recognizing that love and us just moving forward from this hatred and then continuing to hate the person and not having what's been coined as sort of this road to redemption.
It's easier to hate a person than to love a person. It's a lot less work.
True, but I think the love is usually a lot more fulfilling, right? That's why people choose.
Of course, yeah.
So, but why not? Why do we think we see this more where it doesn't feel like it feels like second chances and just, I don't know, opportunities for comebacks
it's fun to
fewer and far between. But is it more fun to hate people now? Has it become easier to hate people and easier to express? Something Kevin Hart was touching upon a lot, and something Joe Rogan talks about on his podcast, is just the how social media has so much negativity on it. It just feels like it's very easy to be negative. It's so easy to be negative. It just feels like a lot of people are very negative.
Especially with people that you love.
Right.
You see that all the time.
But why now does it feel like it's more? It feels like 2019, right? It's the greatest possible time to be alive. Like we are living in the most amazing moment in human history. Like it's the most modern it's ever been. We live in the richest country.
If you're living in a prosperous society.
Right. But I mean, I'm talking specifically about.
That means you have a lot of time on your hands. What do you do with time? Just find more opportunities to hate people. I think that's part of it, at least.
Yeah, people are too safe to.
Yeah.
Things are too easy.
Fun. There needs
too many conveniences.
It's perfectly natural for people to pick something to hate or someone.
I think there actually have been. It's been broken down. But
what's been broken down?
But like by country, sort of like happiness. Like there are poor countries where a lot of people who are in more well-off countries assume like these people, because they're struggling, aren't like happy and don't live fulfilled lives. But a lot of these people do have fulfilled lives, and they have stronger family ties, and because they rely on each other more.
That's why.
Right.
I mean, that's what makes people happy.
Right.
Having something to be responsible for.
Right.
You know, having strong family ties.
Right. The years of love.
Yeah. A lot of people don't have that here.
Yeah. Briefly touched upon recently before that, sort of second chances, that sort of thing. We talked about the Edgar Allan Poe quote. How do you feel about those sorts of second chances in the wake of, I'm not saying just strictly Me Too, but just anything in our current day and age where somebody gets called out for something, or accused of something, or it's proven that they did something and they admit it, whatever the circumstances are. How do we feel about our ability now, and maybe your ability to personally on this, to engage with those ideas, and to be able to and give them a second chance at some point, and sort of just like try to understand where they came from, and understand that they're humans who made mistakes or are fallible? And is it possible, or should we just write people off?
I mean, I just think it depends, like, what the person is
context
known
is very
for
important,
in the first place. You know, a lot of these cases, it's like an entertainer, and they get accused of doing something that's, you know, we've all seen cases where the person really turns out they didn't really do anything at all, or they did something pretty bad.
Right. That's worse than what they let on.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, it's like these people were never, like, they're not recognized before they're not famous, and like they don't have fans because they're just nice, perfect people, and their personal lives don't really have any influence on that. So to me, it's like if you're a fan of someone, you like their work, you think you like their ideas, you shouldn't feel discouraged from continuing to enjoy them, just because, you know, it turns out they're not a perfect person. You know, maybe they did something really bad. Right. You know, a lot of people do bad things. It's just not as much, you know, under a microscope.
So you would support the idea of sort of separating the art from the artist. I mean, obviously 100%. This is specifically in an artist context, because there's bad people who do things, you know, CEOs who maybe you wouldn't consider them an artist.
Well, I just think art, like, it belongs to everyone once it's out there. Right. So.
And it belongs, it's its own thing. Right?
Yeah.
And it should be looked at its own thing. The creator, while important for context's sake, might actually not be all that important for your personal enjoyment's sake.
Yeah.
And the impressionability. Right. Definitely not. Well, it's just interesting because that seems. I mean, I agree with you. So you know, there's no conflict there to poke at, but it certainly seems like most people would say you can't. Like, especially, and I'll give an extreme example now, especially with something like Cosby. Like, can you go back and listen to his early comedy? Or even
I just want to stop you before that. Yeah. You would think most people would disagree with that?
Yes. It seems definitely like the cultural narrative.
What do you say that based on, though?
Well, particularly, there's something I've had other conversations about this with people, so personal experiences, which is, of course, you know, a very small sample. But Jerry Seinfeld, when he was on Colbert about 2 years ago, Colbert asked him a very similar question along the lines of Cosby, the ability to separate the art from the artist. And Jerry originally, it's only like a 7-minute clip, and honestly it struck me as a little odd because it didn't seem very Seinfeldian, because he's usually pretty, not that he doesn't change his opinion on things, but I feel like he's usually got a pretty strong, well thought out opinion on this. And something is so big as this, and Colbert was asking him, like, can you separate the art from the artist? Can you go back and let's do it? And Seinfeld originally said yes, and then Colbert, through discussion on the talk show, got him to eventually flip to be like, maybe I actually can't go back and listen to Cosby. Like, so Seinfeld switched.
I think Cosby is an extreme example.
Cosby is an extreme example, but I mean,
that's like if
there's exceptions to the rule.
That's like an evil motherfucker.
Well, I mean, it is true. I mean, isn't it? It was proven.
He was convicted of
multiple counts.
No, just one.
Just one.
Yeah.
Right. I thought it was like 50 plus.
I'm saying, 50 plus
accusations, but
it's probably true.
Right.
I'm just saying.
It's hard to prove.
I just want to preface it.
Right. No, he is. He is evil. He is he's not necessarily an exception.
I mean, like,
he's an extreme.
He's an extreme. He's like just as prolific as a sex offender as he is as a comedian and as an actor. You know what I mean?
That's a pretty twisted joke.
It's true though.
It's true. That is true. Yes. So can you, let's say it's all true, can you still listen to his comedy? Is it?
Maybe if you don't know about what...
Not even, and okay, you know what, not even...
Foreigner, you don't even
know
anything else.
Interesting. So then essentially no.
I still think you can. I
still
think you can. A funny joke is a funny joke.
But now how do you feel about this? People say if you do listen to him, you're propagating him up, you're supporting him, you're giving him a platform, you're doing all of this, you're essentially in his camp because you are able to still enjoy it, you still say that you want to listen to it, despite the fact that it's been proven that he's such a good person.
I think at this point his reputation is so imbalanced, I don't think there's really anything you can do to prop him.
But do you still say that you are pushing positively on his image? You're a supporter, you're a backer?
I think you're appreciating something that he did maybe 40 years ago.
Okay.
For what it is.
So you're appreciating his work for what it is.
Yeah, I don't think that you're, making him look innocent just by...
Right.
Which...
Maybe not making him look innocent, but just supporting him. I mean...
Yeah.
Are you supporting him by listening to his work? Monetarily, in a certain sense, yes.
Yeah.
And by proxy, does that make that? I'm just, I do get why people say that.
The other end, like, why should you be able to get in the way of someone's happiness if they want to enjoy work that's out there?
Right. That's true.
When this person still has a brain and they can recognize that that it's a separate thing.
Well, I mean, that's like a very libertarian, let people do as they please in the privacy.
I mean, I'm just saying that's like that.
No, I'm not calling it a libertarian. Right? No, I understand. I know what you mean. Let people be. Let them do what they want. Let them make choices regardless of how you feel about it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that is why it's such a big deal in that case, because the dude is such a genius. So prolific,
such a great comedian. I mean, so huge for comedy, such a big piece of comedy.
And that just makes it a bigger story.
Right.
But
certainly. No, it's. I mean, part of the reason it's such a big story is because he's such a big name.
It's too much work to just like Michael Jackson's another example. Like, what are you gonna? You can't get rid of. It's just such an amazing body of work. Like, you can't bury it.
Right.
It's impossible.
Right. And that one's very interesting too because it's after, at post-mortem. He's dead, and yet.
Well, and he was on trial when he was still
certainly. No, I know, but it just seemed like not that the culture had decided. Right. Yeah. The movie re-brought up the debate, but now we're having the debate from a much different vantage point because it's like we can no longer hear from him or judge him by how sympathetic, empathetic he looks, speaks, talks.
Mm-hmm.
He's got no ability to respond, and it makes it now feel a little just more dark. It's just darker. It's just like a little harder to evaluate whether not the crimes or the accusations. I'm not talking about that. It's a little harder to evaluate now what we do with the work. Do I stop listening to Billie Jean? Like
it's
you
can't.
You're right. You can't.
You're just gonna hear it for the rest of your life.
But it's also like even though I associate Billie Jean with Michael Jackson, I don't like. It's just a name.
Way beyond
it's just a name.
At this point.
Yeah, but it's also just a
like
name. It's like not.
it's part of the American songbook. So many of his songs are, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there's that. I
you
agree.
know?
I agree with that. But I also just think like this idea of like I don't think artists actually have as much ownership over their creation as like we think they do. Like,
well, yeah, Beatles didn't own their music.
Right. No, but actually, like even just
Michael
like the
Jackson
raw
own his music.
But I mean, like the raw authority over it. Like it's something you've created and put out for like you didn't. Nobody made it just for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
If they made it just for themselves, they wouldn't have released it.
Yeah.
But in that process of releasing a creation of yours, I think it's kind of like pushing the bird pushes the baby out of the nest. Like, yes, your name is still attached to it, your blood still runs through it, but it's everybody else's now, man. Like they're buying it and putting it in their home with their collection. Like it's theirs too.
Yeah.
And right, they bought it, and because of that. I think that should be one of the root reasons why you can separate the art from the artist. Is just that fundamentally, it's really not as much about the artist as it is about the art.
Yeah.
It's way more about the art.
Yeah. I mean, if someone was their entire career was just based on them being a perfect person, like
Mr. Rogers.
Yeah. Like if it was Mr. Rogers, if he got accused of doing something awful like that, then maybe. It's reasonable to completely discredit.
Right. Well, I mean, with Cosby, though, I mean, part of the thing was that he was such a family man.
Yeah.
You know, such a.
And you can, I mean, I think it's reasonable to discredit that at least.
Right. It's reasonable to discredit his parenting advice on the Cosby Show.
Yeah, or just his sanctimonious.
Yes, his personality, right.
You know.
And it can honestly even look more sinister because now it might even seem that he was trying to do that as a character so that people wouldn't think that he was capable of doing this.
Mm-hmm.
It's like character manipulation.
Yeah, it's true. But, you know, his comedy, it just belongs to everyone.
Right. I do think the comedy is distinctly different. Yeah. Just like George Bush's paintings are distinctly different than his time in office.
George Bush paints?
Yeah, George Bush paints. Yeah, he does. He
when
likes
did he
to
get into that?
I think like kind of post office. He started getting into it. And he's gotten into a lot of stuff now. And you just see, I mean, this is, you know, people, like, even Democrats are like, you know, embrace him. I mean, obviously it's in the context of, you know, a lot of them not, you know, preferring him over Trump and whatever, but it's just like, you know, like, people can change their art. Their art can stand on its own, regardless of, you know, his art isn't tainted by Abu Ghraib. Like, these are two distinctly different things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of a stretch.
The reaction of someone to like a piece of art,
right,
or comedy is like very visceral. It's not something you can evaluate based on. It would be like if someone cooked you an amazing meal, even if you fucking hated that person. Like if it's really good food, and it's your favorite dish, like you're gonna like it.
You're gonna like it. It might not taste as good though.
I think it would.
It would. Well, what about this? There's a book I'm reading, and I mean, I think the thought experiment works regardless of the book, but it happened in the book, so I like to bring it up. It was by John Berger. It's called Ways of Seeing. He has us look at a painting, I believe of Van Gogh. Yeah, I believe like Van Gogh's painting, and then you turn the page, and it's the same Van Gogh painting, and underneath it says, "This painting was the last painting Van Gogh did before he shot himself." I believe that's what it says in the book, and it's just like. Now does that change the way you look at the painting? Is your context, because of that context, or is your perspective fundamentally changed about the way you perceive the painting and feel about the painting? Similarly, forgetting the book for a second, you're walking through an art gallery, you're looking at a piece of painting, looking at a painting, and you're in love with it, and you just think it's beautiful, and then I come up to you and tell you, yeah, the artist actually murdered his entire family right before painting this. And then you go,
I think that makes it even more amazing.
You think that would make it more amazing?
Yeah.
But then that would signify the brutal. Okay, but then that. So then I think we can have both. Essentially, is that we can separate the art from the artist, or we can view the art within the context of the artist. We can have both.
Yeah.
You're allowed. Can you hold both?
I think that's enhanced if you're like a big fan of the artist too.
But now, can you ever not see the painting with the brutality in it, or will you always see the brutality because you know the context of the artist? Once you go artist,
something that extreme, you can't unsee that.
You can't not forget. But then, because you can't unsee it now, can you just go back to it on its own. Can you listen to Louis without the context of what happened? Can you listen to Cosby without the context of what happened? I mean, I'm not saying those are the same, of course. But
Yeah, I think it's such a different
medium.
kind of, it's a different
So
medium.
it depends on the medium, too. Comedy is different than painting, which is different than...
Like, comedy, you listen to enjoy.
Painting, you look
You
at
can
to
analyze it
contemplate.
too, but that kind of ruins the fun.
No,
that's
right.
something you can only do if you're like also a comedian.
Right, you're breaking it down. No, but comedy, the point is to laugh. You want to laugh. Painting, the point is to contemplate, to think about, to emote. I think that's actually a very good dividing line. It's a very important
The
thing.
medium is the message.
The medium is the message.
Or the massage.
Or the massage.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's pretty good. That was a very nice discussion, Jake.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah, it was great talking to you.
Pilot episode of the Regular Folk Show. We have a Twitter, and I'll be sending out updates, and I'll be posting some clips from this conversation, as well as the complete one, and hopefully an audio-only version as well. So with that, I bid you adieu. Have a good rest of your day, folks, and I will see you at the next episode.